Stormy, good to see how you doing. How you been? So Miles, Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? Comatose, good to see you. How you doing? Scott, good to see you. How you doing? I'm good. How you doing, Miles? I'm doing great. It's good to hear. Woodhouse, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How's your parents? How are you doing today? How's business? Business is good. Parents are doing very well as well. And I'm doing great. Scott, how you been? Hi, Miles and family. Troy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Brought me a boatload of XRP, XDC, and XLM. Let's go, Stormy. Fine during the dip. That's a good move. Good evening, Miles of CMF. Free and forever. Good to see you as well. How you doing? So, by the time everyone tunes in, I'll go through a gist of what we're going to be essentially talking through on tonight's live show, what news we're going to be covering, and then we do the disclaimer, intro, and then by that time everyone's tuned in for the first part of the live show. Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? Free and forever. Good to see you as well. How you doing? So, on tonight's live show, we are going to be covering news regarding BlackRock. And essentially how BlackRock continues to buy Bitcoin, even though the price has slightly dipped. We're also going to go through on tonight's live show regarding the EU. Now, we do know that the EU has came out with their regulations regarding cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, up to a certain extent, because of their MICA that was released. Now, also, we have updates on the AI regulations coming out of the EU as well. Now, what gets implemented in the EU is a high chance it's going to be implemented in other jurisdictions as well around the world. In terms of AI regulations, due to the EU being a G20 country and the G20 countries being on the same declaration that was signed in the G20 summit in New Delhi last year. Now, we're also going to be covering news regarding El Salvador on tonight's live show as well, how they're proposing a crypto trade with BRICS and apparently ditching the US dollar again. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Tether. Essentially how Tether has paused their operations on buying Bitcoin. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Coinbase, because Coinbase Base, the blockchain, is getting a custom, essentially on-chain identity tool, where you can create your own identity on Base's network. They're doing some immense amount of upgrades on the Base network, but they're also releasing another thing that we're going to be covering tonight's live show, which is a Euro token. A Euro stablecoin is going to be introduced on the Base chain. That's going to be obviously be used, or the aim is for it to be used in the EU. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding the digital chamber and how they're urging the US senators to back Cynthia Luminous's Bitcoin bill. Now, the Bitcoin bill that she introduced essentially is Bitcoin to be used as a reserve asset inside the United States. And the digital chamber is urging all US senators to back this bill, what Cynthia Luminous is trying to introduce, which was something that Donald Trump said, and then she turned it into a bill, and now they want more senators behind it. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding BlackRock and Ethereum ETFs, and regarding their inflows. Apparently, Ethereum ETF inflows are overtaking Bitcoin ETF inflows for a small period of time. It's just happened for a few days now. We're going to go through the data and the points on that matter as well. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding a perspective coming from crypto billionaire Mike Novoscott, and how he essentially says that in 2024 there is a massive pivotal for Bitcoin mining industries. We're also going to go through tonight's live show regarding the Euro stablecoin on the Base chain as well, and we're also going to go through Hong Kong's largest broker is now offering crypto trading services, which is massive news coming out of Hong Kong, and how Hong Kong is definitely positioning itself to become a digital hub. We're also going to go from tonight's live show regarding EU regulators' details on how to classify unlawful overseas businesses under the MICA regulations. So, knowing that the EU has restricted some crypto accesses and some crypto projects inside the EU due to the MICA regulations, like stablecoins, some stablecoins, for example, the EU has also clarified that if EU businesses use any sort of loopholes to go against their MICA, there could be some heavy penalties on the way. So the EU essentially blocking out Tether and USDT, and if any EU businesses later on are found out to be using a particular crypto asset that's not under the MiCA regulation and going through some loopholes, it could end very bad for that EU business. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding the US, the UK coming together to essentially accelerate quantum computing programs after China's recent breakthrough on quantum computing. And we're going to go from tonight's live show regarding Ripple's announcement of the $10 million investment in tokenized US Treasury bills on the XRP ledger as well. So quite a mixture of news to go from tonight's live show, some perspective, some announcements, some partnerships, and essentially some data points to go through as well on tonight's live show. So welcome to the CMF Live Show. If you're watching this for the first time ever, this is the CMF Live Show. It stands for Crypto Mouse Family, and I talk about the most recent things that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations. Things for you to know about while the world is shifting into complete digital era, and for you to be updated on the matter. We also do live Q&As as well, which means right now we are live as usual on YouTube Live and on X at the exact same time. That's why the comment section is mixed with you, essentially with you. YouTube users and X users at the same time. So if you have any questions, put it down in the comment section. This is a live Q&A as usual every single night. And if you are a regular Let's Go CMF, I just got a notification from JP. It says Let's Go CMF on X. If you are new to the CMF Live Show, welcome to the CMF Live Show. If you're a regular on CMF Live Show, Let's Go CMF. The disclaimer of this live show is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So welcome to CMF Live Show. By the way, thank you so much to everyone that's retweeting and essentially liking the live show at the same time right now, the beginning of the live show. Thanks so much to everyone that's liking the live show on YouTube as well. I'm just getting notifications back to back of the retweets. Stormy, thanks so much for retweeting and like. JP, thanks so much as well. And everybody else as well, I'm getting notifications back to back. So, welcome to the CMF Live Show. Now, the first news we're going to go through on tonight's live show is regarding BlackRock and essentially how they're continuing to buy Bitcoin, even though the price situation that's going on right now and the geopolitical tensions that's going on right now as well, some other aspects that are playing inside the market space. Now, before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see where we were. And by the way, I read everybody's comments one by one, give short, sweet, simple answers to get through all the comments, because everybody's taking time out of the day to write a comment, so therefore I'm going to be responding to everyone. Even though I was on CMF, Semper, good to see you as well. How you doing? Dennis, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and the family. Ian, good to see you as well. How you doing? Glenda, good to see you as well. How you doing? Scott, good, my friend. Let's go. Brian, good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. David, good to see you as well. How you doing? Greetings, Miles and CMF. Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? Hello, Miles and the CMF. Hope everyone is well. I'm doing great. Good to see you as well, Brian. Once again, thanks so much to everyone that's retweeting the live show, and I'm getting notifications back to back. So, first news on tonight's live show is regarding BlackRock. So, BlackRock continues to buy Bitcoin, aimed at price drop still. In a strategic move, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has recently increased its exposure to Bitcoin by buying around 38,000 individual Bitcoins worth over $21 million. Now, Arkham Intelligence was the one that revealed this information. Arkham Intelligence is they're very clever at finding out which wallet belongs to which company, which corporation, that matter, that is doing some movements inside the crypto space. Now, Arkham Intelligence has revealed that Bitcoin buying, which comes amidst notable market turbulence and signifies the company's confidence in the long-term potential of the cryptocurrency, even though that the market is on shaky grounds due to some geopolitical tensions that's going on in the Middle East. Now, several factors have contributed to the recent market instability. Bitcoin's price has dropped by 10% following significant government sales of cryptocurrencies. At the time of writing, the Bitcoin price was at $63,283. Now, in the BTC ETF market, BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust IBIT has become a dominant player without a doubt. According to the asset manager's most recent statistics, its overall Bitcoin holdings have increased to more than 342,000 Bitcoins is what essentially BlackRock is holding. 342,000 Bitcoins. With a market price of $65,770 per Bitcoin as of July 31st, BlackRock has roughly about 342,658 BTC, valuing its Bitcoin assets at astonishing $22.5 billion, which is crazy. Now, this achievement coincides with the announcements of BlackRock's CEO Larry Fink that has now become essentially a major Bitcoin believer, which is a substantial departure from his prior positions on cryptocurrencies. Larry Fink's recognition of Bitcoin's legitimacy, despite a few instances of misuses, suggests that the traditional banking circles are beginning to accept cryptocurrencies. Following his success with Bitcoin ETFs, BlackRock has also filed their spot Ethereum ETF, which apparently is doing quite well for itself. I'm going to go through that matter as well, that the Ethereum ETFs for BlackRock are actually bringing in inflows. And on some particular days, the Ethereum ETFs did better on terms of inflows than the Bitcoin ETFs. Could the tables be turning? Could essentially Grayscale's manipulation slowly be coming to an end? Because when Grayscale's manipulation started with the Bitcoin ETFs right at the beginning, for them to release all those Bitcoins into the market, essentially, because their clients didn't want to pay 2.5% fee. Once Grayscale's manipulation slowly come to an end, BlackRock was the one that took over. Same thing could happen again. History will always repeat itself. So far, it has. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding the EU and how they're coming out with the EU, essentially the AI regulations. Now, we know for a fact that the EU is very strict when it comes to their regulations, but that's only because they want to protect all EU businesses and banks for them not to fall to any sort of pitfalls inside the crypto space. So the EU has come out with their AI regulations, and just as the crypto regulations, well, it's a bit strict as well, but they're only trying to protect their own businesses and their own citizens. Now, what's going on in the EU in terms of AI regulations could also play a factor in other G20 countries. So the UK could have similar regulations to what the EU has just came out with. The US could have similar regulations as well. And so can Canada, so can Australia, and so on and so on, Singapore, and the list just goes on of G20 countries. Now, this is what it is. The EU AI Act is now in force. Details comprise of timelines and penalties if you don't abide by them. The European Union Artificial Intelligence AI Act is finally in force 5 months after being passed by the European Union Parliament. With the law now in effect, it becomes the landmark regulation on AI and could set the pace for other countries to regulate the emerging sector. However, most provisions in the AI Act will not go into effect immediately, as there are timelines for applying these rules. Just like the MICA regulations, they started implementing them, and it's going to continue throughout the year. Same thing for the AI, but they started is what essentially the point is right now. This is expected to give companies more time to comply with the laws as the sector evolves and allow more, essentially member states to equip themselves for this enforcement. AI use cases are classified based on their risks. The Act adapts a risk-based classification system to determine the rules that will apply to each AI company. The categories are now essentially risk, minimal risk, or high risk, and prohibited to be used in the EU. So these are the categories that these AI projects can fall under: risk, minimal risk, high risk, or prohibited. And whatever category an AI system falls into will determine when the rules surrounding its operations will become effective. For prohibited AI systems, the regulator has set a deadline of February 2025 to ban the systems that scrap the internet to expand facial recognition databases or manipulate users into making a decision. These are so regarding the high risk applications category, we'll also have a 6 month from August 1st to comply with the strict rules applicable to them. AI systems classified as high risk include those used for facial recognitions, biometrics, critical public services, education, employment, and medical softwares will fall under the category of high risk. The requirements for the group include presenting training databases to regulators for audits and providing proof of human oversight on AI companies. They also require to conduct pre-market essentially testings for high-risk systems used by government agencies or for public services. The developers would have to register themselves in the EU database. If you want to, create your own essentially create your own AI project, and you want to operate that AI project in the EU, you would have to also register yourself in the EU. Now, I'll give you an example. If I set up a business in the UK, I can essentially do business with any sort of international country I want. I can pick and choose any country that I want, and I don't have to really register my business. For example, in Monaco, if I want to do some business in Monaco, if I want to do some business in other countries, I can just use my headquarters in the UK. But if you're an AI essentially company or an AI crypto project or whatever in terms of AI, you would have to register your databases also in the EU for you to be able to operate as an essentially AI project in the EU. So, meanwhile, about 85% of AI systems fall into that minimal risk category. With more flexible rules, still the Act has set out penalties to deter essentially violations. Fines range from 7% of the global annual turnover from that essentially company's project, and essentially violating the prohibited AI systems to 1.5% for providing wrong information to regulators. If you have designed an AI tool that's giving out biased information to users, then you can also be fined in the EU. You would have to give out some sort of essentially accurate information to the users. When people come out and use your AI platform, they ask your AI chatbot questions. If your chatbot is giving out biased information, you will be fined on your annual turnarounds. Now, generative AI with minimal restrictions. For developers of generative AI systems, their concerns are limited as the Act labels their models as examples of general purpose AIs and classifies most of them as minimal risk. Thus, top AI chatbots such as Meta AI, ChatGPT, Paraplex, Cloud AI, and etc. would not be significantly affected. Do you know why these companies won't be most essentially significantly affected? The reason why ChatGPT, Meta AI, or any of these big name AI companies, do you know the reason why they fall under pretty much low risk? It's not because they're giving out genuine information. It's not because they're not biased in any sort of way. It's because they're massive corporations. You see, a very long time ago on this live show, I revealed that essentially massive corporations like Microsoft, like essentially Facebook and so on, Meta, for example, and even OpenAI, they're frustrated that anybody can come out and just create their own AI tool. Simply creating their own AI tool and essentially stealing away their customer base. Because Meta, essentially Microsoft, or all these massive companies, even Google, they're hiring employees to build on their AI applications. But then you get people randomly, sitting at home, just coding out AI projects and releasing inside the market space and stealing customer base. And they're doing it for free until they make their money. So massive corporations put some pressure on essentially the regulation sector to clamp down on people creating random AI projects. That's why, essentially Meta AI, ChatGPT, and all these Google essentially AI tools don't fall under the, high risk or biased information. Even though I've seen before ChatGPT give out biased information, Meta AI does give out biased information as well, and so on and so on. They give out biased information as well, but they don't fall under the category of biased information because they're massive corporations. But if somebody creates a chat, essentially somebody creates similar to what they have created, they fall under the biased information, they fall under the high risk of, essentially high risk AI projects and so on. This is just basically massive corporations stifling AI innovation in their favor. Because what essentially the EU has described for AI regulations, if your chatbot is giving out biased information, if it's doing the wrong things, if it's doing this and that, Meta falls under that biased information, so does ChatGPT, so does the rest of them. But they don't on paper. In reality, they do. They're all biased, but they don't on paper because they're massive corporations. So these massive corporations like Meta AI, OpenAI, and Microsoft, and so on, and Google, well, they don't like the idea of random strangers coming out and taking market share away from them by creating their own AI platforms sitting at home. Because they're paying, essentially, they are paying employees monthly wages to create platforms, to create applications for their AI tools. And then you have random people at home doing the exact same thing for free, taking market share away from them. So how do you get rid of competition? By stifling your competition. The Act only requires higher transparency from these AI companies through disclosures of their training data. They are also expected to comply with EU copyright rules. However, a small group of GPIs are considered crucial enough to cause systematic risk. These refer to these trained using computing powers above specific levels. Interestingly, the EU is also responsible for enforcing the rules related to GPAIs, although each country is responsible for implementing the general rules under the Act. States have until August 2025 to set up bodies to implement the Act within their own countries. Meanwhile, there are still plenty of grey areas regarding several aspects of the Act. These include the specific guidelines that the GPAI's developers must comply with under the Act. Regulators are developing essentially codes of practice for this purpose, with the AI offices leading the charge. The office, which is the body that monitors and builds AI ecosystems, recently announced a consultation process and has ruled on all stakeholders to participate in the rulemaking process. It intends to have in the codes ready by April 2025. So other jurisdictions should have their regulations up and running by August 2025 as well. Starting now, they should be going into that method and process of writing down their regulations, going back and forward. And by August 2025, they should be ready to be able to greenlight something in terms of different other jurisdictions. But in the EU, they're starting slowly to introduce this regulation. And regarding anybody coming out and creating their own AI projects, slowly, they're going to stifle you, because massive corporations don't like that at all. Massive corporations want you, the user, to use their platforms, not for you to go out of your way and create your own AI tools. They don't like that, because you're taking market share away from them. Now, you might think to yourself, well, how can Microsoft be worried if one random person creates an AI tool? How can Microsoft be worried about that? Because it's not one random person creating an AI tool. It's about 10,000 or 100,000 or 1 million people as we go along creating their own AI tools, which is essentially each person that creates an AI tool could take away 10 customers, 1,000 customers, 100,000 customers, depending on what they build. And that's bad for business for Microsoft, bad for business for Google, and bad for business for ChatGPT. It's bad for business for all of them. So they're trying to stifle innovation, AI innovation, as we go along in the EU. So only big corporation AI projects can continue, and well, the little ones alongside them fade away. Now, the next news, and I reviewed something on those lines a very long time ago. I said that big corporations don't like the idea of these little guys coming into the AI space and taking away customer base. And I said this a very long time ago. And now the EU's actually implemented regulations to stifle the little guy innovation on regarding AI projects. So the next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding El Salvador and how El Salvador proposes a crypto trade with BRICS. And they're thinking about ditching the US dollar is what's going on in El Salvador. They want to use cryptocurrencies. Maybe this has, essentially what Russia said. A few days ago, I reviewed on this live show that Russia is thinking about doing cross-border payments with cryptocurrencies to get around sanctions. So based on what Russia said, El Salvador is now interested, and they want to start using cryptocurrencies for essentially cross-border payments as a loophole. And well, before I reveal this news to you, let's go start a comment section first. Let's see. Miles, I better get an early night as I am tired. Good night. Woodhouse, see you tomorrow, brothers, as usual. Evening, Professor Miles and the rest of the crew. Let's go, Funky Brother. How you doing? Morning, all. Miles, you look so rested today. Glad you are taking my advice. Let's go, Shelly. How you doing? Morning. Hyper Sniper, good to see you. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Denise, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? So, El Salvador. El Salvador proposes a crypto trade with BRICS, ditching US dollar. El Salvador recently proposed using cryptocurrencies for trade with the BRICS alliance, aiming to reduce reliance on the US dollar. This move follows Russia's recent legislation allowing crypto for international trade. The legal shift is set to take effect in September, and it allows Moscow to essentially go around the sanctions from the West, simplifying trade and strengthening essentially economies. Russia's diplomat, Alexandra, stated these measures would essentially simplify trade for El Salvador, where the dollar is the official currency. The proposal marks a step in El Salvador's ongoing efforts to integrate cryptocurrencies into its economy. Furthermore, it aligns with the BRICS Alliance goal of de-dollarization and boosting the use of its own currency. The BRICS Alliance has focused on reducing the reliance essentially on the US dollar in recent years. The group seeks to shift international economic dynamics away from the Western influence. Russia's legalization of crypto for trade represents a major stride essentially in that direction. Hence, El Salvador's proposal could signal a new era of economic cooperations between two nations, overcoming trade challenges and Western pressure. Moreover, it highlights the difficulties in trade settlements due to El Salvador's dollar dependency. He noted that El Salvador faces pressure from the West over this proposal. However, the diplomat emphasized that the potential benefits of increased cooperations through crypto trades, this move could enhance trade volumes between El Salvador and BRICS nations. Additionally, El Salvador's interest in joining the BRICS alliance could further solidify these economic ties. Although the country has not yet applied for the membership, the potential for collaboration is evident. Coincidentally, El Salvador's connection to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies could facilitate a smoother and more efficient trade with BRICS nations. A growing trend in global trade dynamics. El Salvador and Russia's trade has increased in recent years. Trade volumes exceeded $4 million in 2018 and doubled in 2019. Trades have hit $20 million by 2020. With the planned usage of cryptocurrencies, this growing tendency is probably going to essentially continue, further undermining the dollar's stance. Trade deals using cryptocurrencies could strengthen El Salvador's and the BRICS countries' economies. The actions highlight the growing adoption of digital currencies in international trade and challenges the global usage of the US dollar. Thus, El Salvador's proposal to trade using cryptocurrencies with BRICS represents a turning point in the dynamics of the world economy. So, El Salvador might be on the verge of rethinking on their whole plan of maybe they should join BRICS due to what Russia has said. So, essentially, Alexandra coming out from Russia, the diplomat Alexandra coming out from Russia, and making the speech that El Salvador, mentioning that they want to start using cryptocurrencies for trades, they should join BRICS. El Salvador should join BRICS, according to Alexandra, diplomat from Russia, because we're going to start opening their doors, essentially, for cross-border payments in terms of cryptocurrencies to move away from the US dollar. And look, it will definitely help El Salvador's economy, without a doubt, and help Russia's economy as well. Let's just see how it plays out in the long term, moving away from the US dollar. And I've revealed this before as well, that Russia still does use the US dollar. So does China, so does every other country that claims to be inside of BRICS. Although the news won't come out and tell you that, but the factual data is there. And Russia still does use the US dollar, so does China, and so does any other BRICS member. They still use it for oil trades, they still use it for gas trades, for water trades, for any type of trades. They still use the US dollar, even though they all claim they're moving away or they have moved away. Tether is the next news to go on tonight's slideshow. Tether pauses Bitcoin purchases despite a $1.3 billion in profits in Q2 of 2024. So Tether is still bringing in quite a lot of humongous amounts of profits still, even though just being kicked out of the EU. Now, obviously, Tether USDT is the most dodgiest stablecoin out there, without a doubt. Till this day, we don't know what's backing USDT, but in USDT or Tether's terms, US treasuries are backing it, cash and so on is backing it in terms of reserves. Now, we also do know for a fact that Tether does print randomly. The last time Tether printed USDT, they were asked the question of why are you printing, and Tether replied, well, printing it basically in a simple way for a rainy day. Was Tether's response for printing 1 billion USDT on the Tron network. And they were printing it for a rainy day, and they said they're not going to be adding it to the circulation in any sort of way, and so they're just going to leave it on the sidelines. And what doesn't make sense is that if they're printing it for a rainy day, why not print it on that rainy day? It doesn't take hours, it doesn't take weeks or days or months or years to print USDT. It's a matter of seconds, pretty much. So Tether does some very, very odd movements sometimes by printing randomly and not showing reserves. And sometimes Tether comes out with ridiculous amounts of profits. And even though it made $1.3 billion in Q2 of 2024, Tether, a big stablecoin issuer, has stopped buying Bitcoin randomly. Crypto enthusiasts are wondering why the company will keep its current reserves amounts. In other words, why is Tether not spending it for reserves? Why is Tether just holding the money? Why they're not buying Bitcoin like they usually do to back their USDT? The financial report for Tether showed that it had a net worth of $11.9 billion and $97.6 billion in US Treasury securities. This is a report from Tether themselves. Nobody's confirmed this report in any sort of a way, but it's a report from Tether directly. In the second quarter of 2024, Tether issued 8.3 billion USDT. Its assets were higher than its debts, which showed that it was in good financial shape. The CEO of Tether said that the reserve report is mostly about the companies that are releasing the stablecoin. During the second quarter of 2024, Tether's investments arm continued to buy Bitcoin, but the report doesn't go into detail about these deals. The financial results for Q2 2024 for Tether show that it is very good at making money and managing its assets. The company had $118.4 billion in reserves for Tether's tokens in circulation, but it also owed $113.1 billion. So it had a net asset over liability cushioning of about $5.3 billion. It is stressed that Tether is committed to openness and stability, when in reality it isn't, and that it is becoming more important in the fields like AI, biotech, and telecommunications. Yes, Tether is moving away from this whole USDT venture and trying to branch out into AI. It really is. In June, Tether, the most valuable stablecoin in market capitalization, introduced a new digital asset called USDT, backed by over-collateralized Tether Gold. This is the first product from Tether's Alloy by Tether Services, which includes a new category of tethered assets. So Tether has, obviously shifted over to tokenizations and AI projects and so on. And but what's very, very random is that Tether, who always buys Bitcoin to back their USDT with or for their own reserve assets, stopped buying Bitcoin. And it's not on their balance sheets. What's a bit odd is that Tether claimed to be buying Bitcoin in a certain month, but when they released their own reports, it wasn't on their reports. Until this day, we still don't know what's actually backing Tether, because Tether releases their own reports. Nobody's ever fact-checked Tether. There was one man that's ever fact-checked, essentially, Tether, and this man sells US Treasuries. He's the 25th person inside the United States that sells US Treasuries, the 25th person. Not the first or second or third, but the 25th person that sells US Treasuries inside the United States. This man randomly came out and said, yes, I've seen Tether's reserves, and Tether does have reserves. Now, this was a time period where people still didn't believe in Tether, and till this day, we still haven't seen their reserves. But the 25th person that sells US Treasuries came out and said, yes, Tether does have US Treasury as reserves, and they do have reserves to back their USDT and so on. But that doesn't really act as proof in any sort of a way, because, fair enough, you got somebody randomly coming out and saying you have reserves, then why don't you just show it? That would make a lot more sense than getting a person that's the 25th person that sells US Treasuries to come out and back your words when you can just show proof. But obviously Tether doesn't want to show proof. One day we're going to find out why Tether didn't want to show proof. One day we will find out. I'm telling you right now, I will bet both of my lungs on it, that one day we will find out why Tether didn't want to show proof on their reserves. Now, Coinbase. Coinbase-based blockchain is getting a custom on-chain identity. If you ever wanted a custom name tool, our Base network is growing without a doubt, and it does make sense because of Coinbase. Coinbase being an open company, being also working with high-profile corporations out there as well, being a middleman for Bitcoin ETFs, and Base network. And what I'm trying to get to is Base network is definitely going to grow over time. Now, if you want your own custom identity on the Base network, is what's been introduced now. Before I go through that news, let's go inside the comment section first. Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? And that one day is not too far away, is what JP said regarding Tether. Yet I believe it also as well that one day is not too far away either for USDT Tether. So I agree with JP facts. Coinbase-based blockchain, custom on-chain identity tools. The team behind the Base blockchain, Coinbase, unveiled a new product called Base Names, the latest way to make essentially a blockchain address for human readables. The tool leverages the popular Ethereum name services, ENS, that essentially provides users with ETH addresses like Vitalik.eth or Tom.base.eth. And this is what Base said, what essentially Coinbase said. Our vision for Base names is that it is the convenient tissue that will enable builders to connect with other builders, builders to more closely connect with people. Base head of products, Thomas, said at Coinbase's Base Camp Summit today. He also went on to say, I may have 10 to 18 problems, but on-chain identity won't be one of them. Users will be able to connect a number of different wallets to the application, including MetaMask, Rainbow, and Coinbase Wallet, among others, to register a name. There is also a web page where users can search for other Base names, addresses to interact with, and a way to customize their profiles by adding a bio to their social media handles and relative skills. In essence, base names will serve as a type of on-chain resumes where the talents that people essentially assist to having, like privacy or solidifying their programming language, marketing experience, legal expertise, or even owning a company, and can be backed up by the bona fide on-chains, Vera said. These include credentials and other blockchain data that can create a holistic, united builder profile. Finding people to build with this is one of the main problems we're trying to solve. We want you to be able to connect more closely with people in your community. Additionally, like other on-chain naming systems, including ENS and unstoppable domains, the tool will make sending payments easier and less prone to essentially mistakes regarding sending cryptocurrencies to another wallet address. Instead of typing the wallet address or pasting the wallet address, you can just type in the name of that person's address. Now, base names will look nearly identical to ETH to .eth ENS addresses, but will include a base-specific domain, essentially extension, as so it will be your name, for example, at base.eth. The product will be available initially to everyone attending Basecamp and will be rolled out to general public in the next couple of weeks. So if you want to secure your base name, look out for base names. They're going to be launching in about a couple of weeks. Now, you might be thinking, well, this isn't relevant and it doesn't have any use cases. Well, it does have major use cases if you own a company. If you are, a company owner, small, medium, or large size company owner, and you want to get inside the crypto field, it's good to secure your company names on these networks. So in case somebody wants to send you payments, it's much more easy for them to do. So you can save just the same way you would have a business email is the same resemblance of having your business name as a base network or an ETH network and so on. Base being from Coinbase being slowly going to become one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there due to being 1, American, 2, public, and 3, backed by BlackRock and so on and so on. It's good to have your company name registered because we're moving to digital payments as we go along. So later on, people want to send you money in terms of cryptocurrencies. They don't have to type in your wallet addresses. They can just type in your company name and send. That's when it becomes useful. Or if you just want it for a personal use as well. But think of, essentially these digital names for your wallets like business email addresses. If you own a business, you've got to have a business email address. And in the future, we're not that far off from a digital future because it started already this year in terms of regulations. It's good to have your business name already stamped on your wallets. So, for easy use case, Digital Chamber urges U.S. senators to back Luminous Bitcoin bill. Now, Senator Cynthia Luminous, introduced a Bitcoin Act where essentially Bitcoin should be used as a reserve asset for the United States government. Something that Trump revealed at the Bitcoin event in Nashville, talking about how Bitcoin should be mined only inside the United States and how the US should be buying Bitcoin and how Bitcoin should be backed as a reserve asset. So, based on what Trump said, Senator Luminous took that into action and introduced the Bitcoin Act of 2024, which I revealed what it was, which is essentially a reserve asset for Bitcoin for the United States government. Senator Cynthia Luminous actually turned this into a bill that she's trying to approve. So, the Digital Chamber has now come out and is urging other US senators to back Cynthia Luminous's Bitcoin bill. Diversifying national reserves with Bitcoin could enhance the ability to hedge against inflation and economic volatility, the group noted. The Digital Chamber, a key player in blockchain and digital asset promotion, has called on every US senator to support the Bitcoin Act of 2024. Introduced by Senator Cynthia Luminous on July 31st. In a letter shared on August 1st, the chamber said the bill is in line with the national interest. It demonstrates a physical responsibility and ease of economic burdens through technological advancements. A Bitcoin reserve would improve the balance sheets of the country and ensure that Bitcoin holdings were transparently managed according to the chamber. The group added that by integrating Bitcoin into national reserves, the US could strengthen its financial position and hedge against inflation and economic instability. The chamber also noted that Bitcoin and strategic essential reserves can be used to retire outstanding federal debts. Historically, our financial system has been burdened by debt and fiscal policies that have often led to economic challenges. Establishing a Bitcoin reserve is a step towards rectifying these issues. It provides an opportunity to adapt a more sustainable and forward-looking approach to fiscal management. the chamber wrote. Cynthia Luminous Bitcoin bill seeks to direct the US Treasury to purchase 1 million individual Bitcoins. Not $1 million worth of Bitcoins. No. The bill, the Bitcoin Act of 2024 that she's trying to introduce to get more senators on board, is for the United States to buy 1 million individual Bitcoins over a 5-year period. This strategy is to use Bitcoin as a strict reserve to stabilize the US dollar and reduce the national debt. The proposal comes after Republican candidate Donald Trump declared that he would make Bitcoin a US strict reserve asset if elected. So Donald Trump making this announcement in Nashville, Senator Cynthia Luminous actually taking action, turning into a bill. The Digital Chamber also penned a letter to the Vice President Kamala Harris, interesting enough, last month, urging her to adapt a crypto-friendly stance in her presidential campaign. But knowing Kamala Harris, I'm very doubtful. The group suggested that Harris should consider a vice presidential candidate with a strong background in digital asset policies. The crypto community has been questioning Kamala Harris's stance on Bitcoin and crypto since President Biden stepped down from the upcoming presidential race. There have been no public comments about the issue from the VP in any sort of a way regarding cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin so far. According to Fortune, Kamala Harris is likely to clarify her stance on Bitcoin in the coming weeks. So, Bitcoin Act of 2024 is basically the United States buying 1 million individual Bitcoins over a 5-year period. 1 million individual Bitcoins, which is, in a ridiculous amount of billions we're talking about. And to back it with the US national debt in terms of reserves to essentially restore faith inside the US dollar is what the plan is. Trump announced it in the Bitcoin Nashville event. Senator Cynthia Luminous took action, turned it into a bill, called it the Bitcoin Act of 2024. The Chamber of Digitals is now sending letters to all senators to get on board, after Cynthia Luminous essentially launched it as an act of Bitcoin Act of 2024. If that act gets green-lighted, the Bitcoin Act of 2024 gets green-lighted, then obviously Bitcoin is going to go ridiculously higher, because knowing that the United States government is just going to keep on buying and they're not going to stop until they reach 1 million individual Bitcoins, that's just pretty much a green light all the way throughout 5 years. Because it's confirmed that they're buying for 5 years after they get a green light. So in the back of your mind that they're going to stop buying until they reach 1 million individual Bitcoins. So it's just price climbing. Obviously with road bumps in the middle of it, but price climbing confirmed. If it gets a green light. So, BlackRock. Here's some interesting news as well. BlackRock Ethereum ETF inflows swell. Overtake BTC. Apparently, on July 30th, about 2 days ago, a pivotal shift, some data has came out now. A pivotal shift occurred in the cryptocurrency market as BlackRock Ethereum ETF inflows dramatically outpaced those of Bitcoin ETFs. Ethereum ETFs outpaced the Bitcoin ETFs on BlackRock. The data coming out from July 30th, it came out today. According to data from Farsight, this notable trend emerged against a backdrop of Bitcoin ETF withdrawals amounting to $18.3 million, marking the first ever outflow since July 23rd. In a stark contrast, Ethereum's inflows told a different story. Several prominent Bitcoin ETFs, such as Bitwise's BitTB, ARK's ARKB, and Fidelity's FBTC, experienced outflows as well. BlackRock's Ethereum-focused IBIT ETF reportedly had a significant $74.9 million of inflows, making it its second consecutive days of positive inflows. This surge boosted its total net inflow to over $20 billion, illustrating a essentially marked investor shift. The rising inflows in BlackRock's Ethereum ETF suggest a growing investor confidence in Ethereum's potential. This is particularly significant given the evolving landscape of blockchain applications and market dynamics. This is all the data that came out of Farsight. The sharp contrast between Ethereum ETF inflows and Bitcoin ETF outflows indicates a changing sentiment among investors. who are diversifying their portfolios beyond Bitcoin's traditional dominance. BlackRock's Ethereum ETF inflows continue to climb. In an unprecedented development, on July 30th, Ethereum ETFs recorded a net inflow of $33.7 million net inflow, marking a first since July 23rd. Grayscale's ETH saw its smallest outflow of $120.3 million, while BlackRock's Ethereum ETFs inflows for their ETH achieved an impressive $118 million, its largest inflows since July 23rd. The reason why they're mentioning essentially Grayscale in this situation is because Grayscale was the main manipulator of the Bitcoin ETFs, where they locked everybody's Bitcoin ETFs. 6 months prior to the Bitcoin ETFs getting green-lighted, Grayscale locked everybody's Bitcoin, then introduced a 2.5% fee. When the Bitcoin ETFs were green-lighted, instead of going up, they went down, mainly because Grayscale was the manipulator. They had the biggest profile, essentially the biggest portfolio of Bitcoin, the biggest clientele for Bitcoin holders, and they locked everybody's Bitcoin in for 6 months. The locks came off when the ETF happened for Grayscale, and instead of everybody switching over from their portfolio to essentially to a Bitcoin ETF on Grayscale, Grayscale was offering a 2.5% fee on purpose, so everybody exits, and then slowly that exit shifted over to BlackRock, and then we had essentially the Bitcoin reaching new heights, and BlackRock ETF being the #1 Bitcoin ETF in the world, essentially still till this day. So the reason why they're mentioning Grayscale again is because Grayscale is the main manipulator of Ethereum ETFs. When the news got announced for Ethereum ETFs, no movement happened. The reason why no movement happened is Grayscale did the exact same thing. History repeats itself, where they locked everybody's Ethereum 6 months prior to essentially the Ethereum ETF getting green-lighted. The locks came off. Grayscale charged 2.5% fee. Everybody, instead of joining the ETF from Grayscale, that were already in Grayscale, they exited. And now slowly, the shift is happening to BlackRock again. The same thing that happened to Bitcoin. Grayscale unlocks, they drop out instead of joining their ETF and paying 2.5% fee when BlackRock is offering 0.25% fee. Same thing is happening to Ethereum. Locks came off, dropped. It's slowly shifting over to BlackRock. The same thing. History is just repeating itself. Yeah, but if you ever wanted to know why that happened, that's why it happened. Regarding Bitcoin ETFs not going up and going down when they first launched before going up, that's what happened. Grayscale did the exact same thing with Ethereum as well. And that's why Foresight Data is talking about this matter as well. And how they're saying, oddly enough, Grayscale's outflows and regarding Ethereum ETFs, and then you have the BlackRock ETF for Ethereum inflows happening. Now, if you're wondering as well, this is bad for Grayscale. It's not. Grayscale owns shares in BlackRock. BlackRock owns shares in Grayscale. It's just one big circle. With the rest of them, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Vanguard, they all own shares in each other, and it's just one massive circle. Now, going back to this brought the total outflows in Ethereum ETFs to $406.4 million from Grayscale's side. This significant inflows for BlackRock's ETH not only marked a substantial increase, but it also outpaced the inflows of their Bitcoin ETF counterparts, which is IBIT. The surge in BlackRock's Ethereum ETF inflows signals a shift in investor sentiments towards Ethereum. With $118 million in inflows, BlackRock's ETH ETF has shown robust investor confidence, eclipsing a $74.9 million in inflows recorded by its Bitcoin counterpart, IBIT. And this trend underscores Ethereum's growing appeal among institutional investors. BlackRock's ability to attract substantial inflows for both its Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs highlights the firm's street positioning as well inside the cryptocurrency market space. The firm's consistent success in drawing significant investments, particularly in its Ethereum ETF, suggests a potential long-term shift in market dynamics. Investors are increasingly recognizing Ethereum's value and potential as it continues to evolve and expand its use cases. The implications for future market trends as the cryptocurrency market continues to evolve. The performance of BlackRock's ETFs will be closely monitored by investors and analysts, and Foresight definitely. The firm's ability to attract substantial inflows for its Ethereum ETF, despite broader market volatility, underscores a strong market presence and strategic foresights. Observing the impact of essentially BlackRock's Ethereum ETF inflows, in conclusion, the recent surge in BlackRock's Ethereum ETF inflows marks a significant milestone in the cryptocurrency market. With $118 million in inflows for its ETH ETF, BlackRock has surpassing their Bitcoin ETF counterparts, indicating a potential shift in investor sentiments towards Ethereum. This development underscores the growing confidence in Ethereum's potential and highlights BlackRock's positioning in their market field. Yes, obviously, as we do continue along, BlackRock will also be the #1 holder of Ethereum ETFs, without a doubt. Same way they're the #1 holder for Bitcoin ETFs, they will also be the #1 holder for Ethereum ETFs, #1 holder for XRP ETFs, #1 holder for Solana ETFs, #1 holder for Chainlink ETFs. Whatever the ETFs are, BlackRock will always remain the #1 holder in terms of portfolio or assets under management on that basis. Now, here's some perspective news. Moving away from the data news, moving to perspective news. But a perspective from a billionaire. Crypto billionaire Mike Novoscott has came out and said that 2024 is a pivotal moment for Bitcoin mining industries. Again, there's a perspective coming from Mike Novoscott, who also owns essentially a blockchain company. He's a billionaire, owns a blockchain company, and he's coming out with his perspective that he also does have Bitcoin ETFs. His company does have Bitcoin ETFs as well. And in a recent social media post, he made some comments. Before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. Let's see where we were. Where crypto is pumping. Jim, good to see you. How you doing? What potential does Chainlink have? What potential does Chainlink have? Huge potential. Chainlink has multiple contracts going for it, multiple developments going for it, and one of his biggest partners is Swift. I'm not saying that's a good thing in the long term, but look, Chainlink has huge potential in the long-term process, massive potential. I would definitely declare it as a top 10 project without a doubt. Chainlink definitely a top 10 project. There's a huge future ahead of itself. Some licensings, but massive contracts to his name as well. Now, in a recent social media post, cryptocurrency mogul Mike Novoscott stated that 2024 is a pivotal year for Bitcoin mining. He has stated that the industry managed to display incredible resilience through economic lows. Mike Novoscott shared a recent Galaxy Digital report of his own company, with highlights the key of cryptocurrency mining trends this year as well. The integration of cryptocurrency mining with artificial intelligence and high-performance computing has emerged as one of the key developments for this year. That is true. A lot of Bitcoin mining corporations inside the United States, especially the ones in Texas, are shifting over to essentially AI. They're getting AI involved in their Bitcoin minings. One, to essentially help out with their operations, or two, for data storage purposes to make more money on the side, while Bitcoin sometimes doesn't do too well in terms of fees. The integration of AI and HPCs, essentially high performance computing, with mining is reshaping the landscape, creating new opportunities and emphasizes the need for power access. Mike Novoscott said on a social media post, a new hash rate target. Galaxy Digital, his company, has revised its year-end hash rate target, increasing it to 775. The firm believes that the public miners will be able to control up to 30% of the network's hash rate. It expects the mix of mining machines to become sustainably more efficient. However, there is still a lot of uncertainty surrounding the developments of these machines. For Bitcoin's hash rates to show a healthy growth, the price of Bitcoin has to remain in the $65,000 to $70,000 range. Otherwise, mining might become more economically unsustainable. Notably, Bitcoin mining difficulties experienced a significant drop, plunging below the ATT earlier this July for the first time since the halving event. More capital in the first quarter of the year. Bitcoin mining companies secured a record-breaking amount of capital. They definitely did, especially Marathon Digital. Marathon Digital did humongous amounts of investments. They did an investment essentially in Africa, where they're building a massive mining warehouse, and they're providing some sort of free Wi-Fi's for local communities around it. But they're also building and buying out their competitors as well. And also Marathon Digital does have essentially a partnership. Well, not a partnership, but BlackRock is their majority shareholder, and so is Vanguard. And Marathon Digital is becoming the biggest Bitcoin mining operation out there. Galaxy Digital has predicted that significant capital rising activities would continue in the second part of the year. Now, the data has also come out regarding Bitcoin mining operations on, are they doing too well, are they doing too bad? So far, they've had some sort of losses, but it should pick up as we go along. Now, that was a perspective news from Mike Novoscott that he claims that this year is also some part about the Bitcoin mining operations as well, especially AI and Bitcoin mining operations coming together to accelerate it. Now, Euro stablecoin launches on Ethereum Layer 2 blockchain base. Due to the MiCA regulations and how you have to be under the regulations to be able to launch your tokens, or for any corporations or any citizens inside the EU to use your stablecoin, you would have to be under their regulations. You have to abide by the EU's MiCA regulations. And we have a new Euro stablecoin coming out on the base blockchain. Before we go through that news, let's go inside the comment section first. What's up, brother Miles? It's CMF. Billo, good to see you. How you doing? Any XRP news at the end of the live show? What up, Miles? And CMF, hope all is well, though. Ray, good to see you. How you doing, brother? How you been? So here it is. Base Network. The Euro-backed stablecoin, EuroC, officially launched on the Base mainnet, a leading Ethereum Layer 2 network. Circle, the issuer of EuroC, has announced that its Circle Mint and associated APIs now support the minting and redemption of EuroC on Base for financial institutions. So, are they going to be introducing two types of stablecoins? One for financial institutions, which is going to be on the Base network, and then one for the retail section, which is going to be on Circles, essentially. This integration is expected to enhance liquidity and accessibility for Euro-dominated transactions on the network. But you know what's interesting? Their focus on the institutional side. Reasoning why? Because yesterday I also revealed that BitGo network is coming out. They're focusing on institutions, and they're saying the next wave of essentially clients entering the market space. I revealed this on yesterday's live show, and the news that the next wave of customers or clients, you could say, entering the crypto space or institutions. And this is coming from many CEOs and executives that I essentially revealed to everyone on this live show, on yesterday's live show. One of them being essentially BitGo launching BitGo network for institutions, or many other corporations, institutions, some custody grades services for institutions as well, because the next wave is definitely institutions. Because if you think about it, right now we have more institutions than ever inside the market space, more banks inside the market space than ever before, and also more regulations than we ever had inside the cryptocurrency space. So with more regulations means more banks and more institutions. Reason why? Because they want to enter a safe market space. So with essentially Base introducing a Euro stablecoin for financial institutions, it's definitely confirming that the next wave is definitely going to be institutions, because everybody's on the same path. All these crypto blockchain companies are all under the same path of the next wave is institutions, which is ironically what I said in 2023, that what's going to happen in 2024. So I said it before all these institutions, before these CEOs, before BitGo, before the executives, before Base mentioning it this year. I said this in 2023, going to 2024, of what's going to happen. We're going to have more institutions, more executives, more directors, more companies on board, and so on. Because this is the year when the world shifts into a digital era. This integration is expected to enhance liquidity and accessibility for Euro-dominated transactions on the network. The creator of Base told the news journalist that Circle's launch of EuroC on Base is a major step towards updating the traditional financial system and creating a new global on-chain economy. He noted that their potential to bring huge benefits and innovation to business consumers and provide better access to financial services for unbanks. So in other words, people that don't have bank accounts, that want to use some sort of financial services, that want to use some services for businesses. EuroC joins USDC, another stablecoin issued by Circle on the Base network. Both EuroC and USDC have achieved compliance with the European Union's markets in crypto assets (MiCA) regulations, positioning them as a trusted options for businesses operating within the EU's regulatory framework. That is true. Circle has received a full green light with the MiCA regulations under the EU, so they can operate in the EU. Any business in the EU or anyone from the retail section from the EU can use USDC and their Euro stablecoin, and now their new stablecoin for financial services. USDT, not so much. This backing from established entities, several key industry players have already pledged to support the EuroC on Base, including Adronomo, Coinbase and Coinbase Wallet and Uniswap Labs. They've all came forward and said, yes, we support this whole new idea about the Base Euro tokens. that are going to be used for financial institution purposes. This backing from established entities in the cryptocurrency space suggests a strong foundation for EuroC adoption and the use on the Base network. The introduction of EuroC on Base opens up the new possibilities for global commerce, potentially streamlining cross-border payments, enabling access to capital markets, and providing a euro-dominated store of value within the digital asset ecosystem. Stablecoins like EuroC make it easier for everyone, everywhere to transact across borders. It's worth noting that USDC has already established a significant presence on Base with nearly $3 billion in circulations and reported 97% market share among stablecoins on their platform. This existing infrastructure may provide a blueprint for the EuroC integration and growth on Base. Polka expressed that, essentially emphasizing about the launch, stating, "We are thrilled to launch EuroC, a trusted euro stablecoin on the Base network, and we believe that it's a critical next step for growing the on-chain economy. As the digital asset landscape continues to evolve, the launch of EuroC on Base represents another step towards the maturation of diversification of stablecoin market spaces. Industry observers and participants will nearly watch how this development impacts euro-dominated transactions and liquidity within the broader cryptocurrency ecosystem. For those essentially interested also learning more about the futures of digital assets, including developments like EuroC launch, visit their website regarding Circle and regarding Coinbase, because they're talking about on their website regarding their stablecoin and so on, launching on the Base network. But yeah, it definitely does show that the world is genuinely shifting over to a complete digital era, with the next wave genuinely being institutions. The next wave is institutions. It's banks, it's companies, it's regulations is what's happening right now, which means more and more and more money, but also manipulation. But the money outweighs the manipulation if you play your cards right. Now, Hong Kong. Again, on the factor of institutions, Hong Kong's largest broker now offers crypto trading services. In a press statement released today, the biggest online brokerage in Hong Kong, Futa Securities International, revealed that it is now offering crypto trading services. This is the biggest broker in Hong Kong. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and shares from Nevada and Alibaba are added as incentives to attract users and crypto investors. Furthermore, these initiatives get traded directly on the brokerage's platform using either Hong Kong or US dollars. The retail offerings comes from the firm's got the green light from the City's Securities Futures Commission, SFC of Hong Kong, last month to offer these virtual asset dealing services. The innovative Futo pursuits, in addition to the crypto services offerings in its main platform, the brokerage firm is also seeking a crypto exchange license for its new platform called Panther Trade. Panther Trade is a new crypto platform coming out of Hong Kong. The back end of Panther Trade is Hong Kong's biggest brokerage firm, which is massive. Presently, Panther Trade is one of the 11th platforms in Hong Kong considered deemed to be licensed for crypto trading. The interim step-up permits these platforms to function while they wait for a complete approval from their regulatory agencies. Furthermore, the firm is currently forging a Bitcoin trading commissions to expand its market presence. It's set to collaborate with licensed exchange Hashkey to facilitate tradings under the SFC regulations. Leveraging on the exchange's extensive client base, Fotu will generate substantial retail trading volumes in no time. Also, the credibility and trust associated with Hashkey will provide instant legitimacy to the upcoming trading platform. Hong Kong push to become global crypto hub. It's massive news. Hong Kong pushing to become a global crypto hub. Futo, essentially their biggest brokerage firm, Futo's new launch complements the city's larger goal of establishing itself as a global center for crypto and blockchain innovation. In July, the regulatory agency hinted at plans to review crypto rules. The improved regulatory structure aims to boost the city's attractiveness to crypto enterprises and investors. In addition, a new stablecoin licensing framework was introduced, which gathered positive feedback from the community. However, a top legislative officer raised concerns about this transparency. Market observers see the stablecoin sandbox program as a pivotal step as well for Hong Kong to achieve its goals. If all doubts about this implementation and industry impacts is sorted out in terms of their regulations, which are there as well in place, Bitcoin widespread adoption as well. Futu's move showcases the growing acceptance and recognition of Bitcoin within the broader financial community and the crypto industry. Recently, legislators Johnny Neng from Hong Kong suggested the possibility of inclusion of Bitcoin into the financial reserves. You see how the United States is right now, Cynthia and Senator Luminous introducing the Bitcoin Act that I just revealed on the slideshow once again, that Cynthia Luminous is introducing the Bitcoin Act that the United States should be holding Bitcoin in terms of reserve assets, buying 1 million individual Bitcoins over a 5-year period of time, something that was introduced by Trump at the National Bitcoin event, then picked up by Cynthia Luminous to turn to a Bitcoin Act of 2024 for the United States. Because of what Trump said, Hong Kong is also on path of thinking about doing the exact same thing and even implementing it before it gets implemented inside the United States, of using Bitcoin for reserve assets. The digital asset is largely seen as a store of value and a hedge against inflation globally, and that is why essentially they're thinking about, or the legislator, Johnny from Hong Kong, is thinking about using Bitcoin into the financial reserves. And they mentioned that the reason why Johnny, the legislator from Hong Kong, is even thinking about introducing this as an idea is because of what Donald Trump said in the Bitcoin National event. He actually said, Donald Trump made this bold speech and it got him thinking. And he's a Hong Kong legislator. And it got him thinking that maybe Hong Kong should do it as well. Make Bitcoin a reserve asset in Hong Kong. Now, EU regulator details out how it classifies unlawful overseas businesses under MiCA regulations. Now, we do know that for a fact. The news that before I just revealed to you regarding Hong Kong, absolutely massive news. Futon, massive. But this one is also a bit of an interesting news coming out of the EU in terms of their regulations. The EU has obviously the MiCA regulations, where any crypto project must be able to operate under their regulations and abide by their laws. If they can't abide by the MiCA regulations in the EU, then they have to be out. For example, like Tether, which can't operate under their rules and is out. In other words, USDT is out completely. But the MiCA has also introduced some other sets of regulations to cover loopholes. You see, the MiCA doesn't want, any sort of EU companies or any sort of EU blockchain applications going around the MiCA as a loophole to operate with platforms they're not supposed to outside of the EU. So that not only is the EU trying to, striking the rules inside the EU, but they're also trying to stop EU businesses or the retail section from the EU having access, any sort of access, of even going towards something that's outside of their MiCA regulations. So, on that basis, EU regulators details how it classifies unlawful overseas businesses under MiCA regulations. The European Securities and Markets Authority released an opinion to aid firms that may do business with overseas firms in order to prevent them breaching the rules. The European Securities and Markets Authority published some clarity on Wednesday, for crypto companies dealing with overseas firms to prevent them from breaking the markets and crypto asset rules of the MiCA. Companies that are not authorized to operate in the trading bloc of 27 nations cannot provide any services to European clients unless those clients reach out first. With Thursday's guidance, ECMA wants to prevent unauthorized companies from finding loopholes to proactively reach out to EU clients. The opinions by ESMA, an independent EU body tasked with investor protections, detailed actions to be believed could be unlawful solicitation of clients. The regulator said it would be illegal for an EU authorized broker to systematically route orders it receives to groups execution venues if that group is located outside the EU and the broker hasn't explored any alternative options. So they're saying first, before you reach out to somebody, a platform outside of our MICA regulations, you have to look for alternatives. If you cannot look for any sort of alternatives, then they'll look into it to consider it. But you can't just straight away go out and look for companies that are outside the EU, start operating with them, especially crypto platforms that don't fall under MICA regulations. The ESMA also deemed it unlawful for legal brokers to rely on the brand of the overseas exchange when advertising to attract businesses from EU citizens, to the point that it makes it difficult to distinguish this service. Included in the mix of illicit activities would be if unauthorized brokers has limited revenues from EU clients, or has the revenue flows that significantly diverge from what it would be expected where an independent broker and an independent executioner venue interact, the paper said. The MICA does allow EU authorized brokers to offer exchange services such as exchanging crypto assets for funds or other crypto assets to EU clients, the ones that are authorized, and to enter into agreements with non-EU entities to both manage liquidity and hedge their risk. The ESMA said, however, companies should pay a close attention to the situations when established hedging scheme has the main purpose of effect to channel EU order flows systematically and automatically to a unique non-EU execution venue, and in particular where this non-EU execution venue is part of the same group, the report said. So as time goes by, essentially, the EU is definitely going to be clamping down on any sort of blockchain company that, one, isn't allowed to operate in the EU, and two, they can't even work with EU companies as time goes by. So for now, some blockchain companies that don't operate in the EU, that can't operate in the EU because of MICA regulations, still conduct some sort of businesses in gray areas with EU companies. As time goes by and this rule gets implemented, no more loopholes is what's happening. So EU companies and even the EU retail section cannot do any sort of businesses with blockchain companies outside the MICA regulations. Completely. It's only authorized, essentially, businesses allowed. So right now, there are some gray areas operating, but as time goes by, no more gray areas, no more loopholes is what they're aiming for. And you have to be green-lighted to be able to work with the EU. Even if you don't operate from within the EU and you operate from a different country and you want to work with the EU, you'll be falling under that loophole section and essentially be stifled. Now, the EU is becoming very strict, but it's only because they want to protect their businesses. They want to protect their businesses, they want to protect the retail section from pitfalls. Is what they're aiming for. And it's also because the amount of institutions, the amount of banks coming into play from the EU, they don't really want any sort of unauthorized companies claiming to do something that they can't be able to do, or provide, partnering up with essentially EU companies, and then things go south, that company goes downhill, goes into bankruptcy. It's really bad for the EU's economy. And crypto is not all rainbows and sunshines. There are sides to crypto as well. And believe me, sometimes major companies do also fall for scams. It's not just people from the retail section that fall for scams sometimes. Major companies do also fall for scams as well. There was a very old scam that's where somebody sold an airport from his home country, an airport that wasn't up for sale, to a Japanese company, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. And he was able to execute the sale. So it's not just the retail section that sometimes falls for tricks and hacks. Sometimes major companies also fall for tricks and hacks, and the EU is trying to protect those EU companies before they fall for those tricks and hacks. The US, the UK accelerate quantum computing is the next news to go from tonight's live show. But before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first. See where we were at. Bilal, let's go. How you doing? Ray, thank you for the $1.99. Thank you for the $2 donation. A red hand pointing up. Let's go. Ray, thank you for the donation to the CMF hedge fund. Let's go. We want them to be strict if it means we're moving forward. Yes. The stricter they get, the more of an indication we have that we are moving forward. the more institutions we have inside the crypto space, it's a positive. A lot of people see it as a negative inside the crypto space. I see it as a massive positive due to my background inside the corporate sector, because the corporate section has all the money, to be fairly honest. Retail has scattered money, but corporate section has essentially coordinated money. So the more corporates we get into play, the more banks that come inside the crypto section, the more money that enters the crypto section, and it goes towards legitimate crypto projects. So on that basis, the more regulations we have, the stricter the regulations, an indication of how close we are to these banks and institutions coming into play it is. Because everybody always wants to know, when are these banks going to start coming into crypto and start using it? When are these major companies going to start coming inside of crypto and start using it? Well, your biggest indication is the regulations. The stricter the regulations, the closer we are to the banks entering, the companies entering and bringing their portfolios money, their wallets with them in a simplified way. And I said to everybody, it's about choosing crypto projects that will benefit from the banks coming inside the crypto space, choosing a crypto project that will benefit you from the banks coming in, the regulations coming in, or the companies coming in. Not going against the banks, not going against the regulations, and not going against the companies. That's the worst thing you could do inside the crypto space. It's about choosing crypto projects that will benefit you with the banks coming in, the regulations coming in, and essentially the companies coming in. That's the best idea. Going in the opposite way, trying to go against the system, trying to go against the banks and the regulations, it's not going to end too well. And there's an old saying, if you can't beat them, join them. So choosing crypto projects that will benefit you with all the banks and regulations and companies coming in would be the better option. Now, US, UK, and it's about legitimate crypto projects. US, UK accelerates quantum computing programs after China's breakthrough. Before we go through that news, we want them to be strict regarding the news. Definitely. Facts, what JP said. We want them to be strict. It means we're moving forward. Exactly. US, UK accelerate quantum computing programs after China's breakthrough. Scientists and lawmakers inside the United States, United Kingdom, and the European Union are ramping up efforts to advance quantum computing in the West after scientists in China observed what happens to be the world's first room temperature time crystals. China has made some massive breakthroughs, apparently in quantum computing, where it's got the UK, the US, and the European Union coming together to somehow reach China's level in terms of quantum computing and overtake it. Because China's created something which is the world's first ever room temperature time crystal computing, quantum computing. A team of physicists hailing primarily from Tangxi, the university in China, with contributions from scientists in Denmark and Austria, published a peer-reviewed research detailing the creation and observation of room temperatures in time crystals. In the months since the paper was published, quantum research labs in the West have announced numerous initiatives to extend extensive efforts in the field of quantum computing and to create a new research partnership. Room temperature time crystals. Time crystals are a unique state of matter originally proposed by physicist Frank in 2012. It was introduced. They work similar to other crystals such as snowflakes or diamonds, which are created when specific molecules form a lattice-like bonds that repeat through space. In time crystals, however, the molecules bonds in time, instead of locking into the crystalline structure that repeats, a time crystal's molecules flicker back and forth between different conjugations like a GIF on a loop. Back in 2021, an international team of scientists working with Google's quantum computing lab, simulated a time crystals using quantum computing. This breakthrough demonstrated the potential for quantum computers to explore exotic states of matter and set the stage for convergence of quantum tech and time crystals. Now, in July 2024, fast forward to July 2024, a Tinkish team from China's university appears to have created time crystals at room temperature. This theoretically allows time crystals technology to be employed in non-laboratory equipments and could serve as a massive accelerator for the development of useful quantum computers. Massive accelerator towards quantum computing is what China's worked on right now. Quantum computing, the realization of room temperature time crystals, could solve one of the biggest problems in the field. So in other words, China has just solved one of the biggest problems that there was to quantum computing. China's just solved that. Figuring out how to create stable qubits, a sort of quantum versions of classical computer bits that don't require massive amounts of power and infrastructure to form and maintain. So China's figured it all out. While perhaps not directly related to China's teamworks, labs and governments around the world. So they're saying it's great that this has been developed, and it's great that we know that this can be possible. They just wish it wasn't China's team that created it or China's government. Especially in the US and UK and Europe have signaled renowned interest in quantum computing since the room temperature time crystal paper was published. The UK, the US, and the European Union, after reading that paper that was released from China, they're back into one group and they're going forward on quantum computing once again. In the US, new initiatives have taken place at the national and state levels, with the Federal Defense Department think tank, DARPA, and the state of Illinois both recently agreeing to commit $140 million each to the development, $140 million each to the development of new quantum computing center in Chicago. A new quantum computing center is going to be started up in Chicago, and the first initial investments are $140 million from Illinois, $140 million from DARPA. It's going to be centered in Chicago, Quantum Computing Center. Across the pond, on July 31st, the UK government also announced plans to invest approximately $127 million in the development of 5 quantum computing research hubs to be led by Oxford University. On the same day, MIT announced a multi-million-dollar partnership with the University of Copenhagen to share research and co-develop quantum computing solutions. Which, massive. Honestly, quantum computing is going to, a lot of people think quantum computing is bad for blockchain, but actually, in reality, quantum computing is going to revolutionize blockchain and take it to a whole nother level. So, a lot of people, now, obviously, quantum computing in the wrong hands can go south, but anything in the wrong hands can go south, and in the right hands, it could go very well. Always keep that in mind. Quantum computing, the positive is it can definitely revolutionize blockchain. It can definitely also revolutionize Bitcoin mining as well. Now, the next news to be going through on tonight's live show is regarding Ripple as well. JP, thank you so much for $300 donation. Let's go, JP. JP, thank you for this $300 donation to the CMF hedge fund. That's absolutely astonishing. Thank you so much. Thank you, JP. The CMF hedge fund is definitely piling up. Let's go to the CMF members. I've never donated on YouTube, brother. Is my red finger going to stay up there? Can you see it? I can. Do you know what it is? When you pick the emojis and donate, it doesn't show me the image, but it does show me essentially that it does show me the description of it. So it says a red hand pointing up. You can see the emoji, but because I'm using a third-party platform to live stream on X and on YouTube right now at the exact same time, for me, it just gives me the description. I can't see what it looks like, the emoji, but it describes the emoji to me. So it says a red hand pointing up. After the case is over, with how many days should we expect a drop if it's going to happen? Straight after it should be. China's been leading the way though. Dang, JP, outstanding, bro. Yeah, I think I got it to work tonight. Lol. Let's go, JP. Yeah, JP has just made the biggest donation to the CMF hedge fund. But honestly, thank you so much to every single CMF member that made any sort of essentially donations to the CMF hedge fund. Thank you so much to every single one of you. Any donations that you made. And JP, thank you so much for the $300 donation as well. Absolutely amazing. Now, Ripple. Ripple to invest $10 million in tokenized US Treasury bills on the XRP ledger. Ripple will allocate $10 million to tokenize US Treasury bills on the XRP ledger, marking the platform's first issuance of such tokens. This move is a part of a larger fund dedicated to tokenized T-bills provided by Open Eden and other issuers. Now, Ripple did make a tweet about this, a tweet announcement on their own profile on X regarding this whole tokenization, which is genuinely quite a massive news. And also with Ripple announcing 4 services on yesterday's live show that I revealed as well. The tokenized T-bills will be issued as T-bill tokens by tokenization platform Open Eden. These assets will be invested in short-dated US Treasuries and reserves repurchase agreements, repos in other words, collateralized by US Treasuries. Repos are securities sold with an agreement to repurchase them at a higher price at a specific future date. This initiative reflects a broader trend in the crypto industry where real-world assets and traditional financial securities are being tokenized. This process is considered more efficient and attracting major participants like BlackRock. In March, BlackRock released USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund regarding the Ethereum blockchain, which also BlackRock does have that tokenization fund going on, backing it with US Treasury bills, repo agreements, and cash. Ripple's investment is a part of a larger fund. The company will allocate the tokenized T-bills provided by Open Eden and other unspecified issuers. The allocation dates were not specified either by Open Eden or Ripple for the time being, but we can take an estimate guess on the date process. It's going to do something with the case coming to an end. The XRP ledger is an open source blockchain that uses the cryptocurrency XRP to facilitate global financial transfers and currency exchanges. Over $780 million worth of funds are locked in tokenized version of US Treasuries, according to a tracking site as well. So, Ripple essentially with Open Eden introducing even the idea and announcing it on their own X profile for tokenized deposits. All these are indications that Ripple's case is coming to an end this year. Also, according to what Brad said as well, it's going to happen sooner than you think. It genuinely does look like it's going to be happening sooner than you think. Because with Ripple offering 4 services on their platform that I revealed on yesterday's live show, one for banking services, one for custodial services, one for their Ripple RL USD services, and one for portfolio services they're offering for institutions and small-time businesses. And then now today announcing that they're going to tokenize essentially assets in terms of US Treasury bills and so on. They're introducing a lot of ideas that they never did before. These are all indications that essentially this case is coming to an end and they can, openly say these things and launch them comfortably. You mean the same day it should drop? It should do, yes. Regarding obviously the major thing that once the Ripple case does come to an end this year, according to Brad, it's going to happen sooner than you think, and then according to Brad, also it's going to be end of summer. And for people that may say, well, Brad's just saying this, Brad, a very long time ago, once was asked, when do you think, we're going to get some sort of resolution? Brad came out a very long time ago and he said, we're going to get a resolution in a matter of weeks, not months. And exactly in a matter of weeks, we got a resolution, the first resolution for the XRP case, that it's not a security. So for a very long time, Brad was silent. And then once again, he was asked at the XRP Ledger event in Amsterdam, when we're going to get, the ending of this case. And Brad said, it's going to happen sooner than you think. And then somebody said, give me a timeline. He said, end of summer, and, and so on. But it's going to happen sooner than you think is what he's suggesting. And I also believe that as well, due to the amount of announcements they've made so far, without a doubt. So, and what I suggested regarding XRP was, because a lot of people are holding XRP, there are people who are holding XRP and they believe in XRP's technology. And there are people essentially holding XRP that just want to sell quickly, reaching $1 to $2, they're jumping out. They don't care anymore. So I said that once essentially not financial advice in a sort of a way and only entertainment purposes, what I say. So I said essentially that once the news comes out, the case ends, XRP is going to go up. Now obviously it's not going to go up to the figure that the people think it is, to those high numbers, but it's going to go to $1, $2, $3, even $4, $5, depending on how far they can push it up. And it's going to come right back shooting down. And I said it's only because there's one last time. Just to point that out as well, one last time on a drastic drop. The reason why I said it's going to come shooting back down is because people have been holding for 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, depending on how many years people have been holding since day one until now, for example. And those people might decide to sell and just jump out forever. And they don't care about the utility, or they don't believe in the utility. For me, it's not about believing in the utility. I know it has utility because contracts don't lie. So I know it has utility. Some people believe it has utility, and some people believe it doesn't have utility. Me, I know it has utility purposes. So I will never jump out of it. Now, the topic remains of, will the people that don't believe in XRP and just want to sell at $1 to $2 outpace the people that believe in the utility and sell? If those people outpace in terms of inflows and outflows and they sell, XRP will have a drastic drop straight after shooting up. It will come back down one last time on a very nice price point. Because people have been holding for years, and they're going to sell $1 to $2, they'll sell straight away. One last time comes drastically down, and then there is nothing stopping it from there to just go up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways. Because there's nothing holding it back there. So that's what essentially Camel is referring to, of asking me the question of, you mean the same day, Sean? It should be the same day, roughly. And the drop could, a drastic drop, if there's a drastic drop, that means that the people that don't believe in it, or people that just want to sell and get out of it, in other words, have essentially outweighed the people that believe in it. And that's why we have a drastic drop. People have been holding for years, and they just want to see $1 to $2, and they're out. If there's so many people like that, then we're going to have a drastic drop, which would be one last time. Because after that, nothing's holding it back. Which means up, sideways, up, sideways, up, sideways. But if it goes the other way around, that means there's a lot of believers in XRP and no drastic drop straight after going higher, in other words. So we have also came to the endings of tonight's live show as well. If you enjoyed tonight's live show, drop a follow, drop a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, drop a follow, drop a like if you're watching this on X, and even drop a retweet or a comment on YouTube or X. And to give you a gist of what we talked about on tonight's live show, just in case you tuned in late, I always do a gist at the end of the live show. I talked about essentially Ripple's tokenized project and how close they're coming to an ending if they're announcing so many things. I talked about the US, the UK, and the European Union accelerating quantum computing now that they have a steady plan. And a Chicago quantum computing center is going to be starting up in Chicago, and with Oxford University in the play as well in the UK. I also talked about the EU regulators regarding the MiCA regulations outside of the EU. I talked about Hong Kong's largest broker coming in, Futon, essentially establishing itself as the largest broker as well, being the largest broker, establishing a crypto platform, which is massive news as well. I also talked about Hong Kong going towards Bitcoin reserves, just like the United States. I talked about the Euro stablecoin coming on the base network for financial institutions, being the next wave of clients, just like Bitco said on yesterday's live show that I reviewed. I talked about Mike Novoscott, the billionaire who also owns Galaxy Digital, coming out and giving his perspectives on regarding Bitcoin minings for the time being. I also talked about BlackRock regarding the Ethereum ETFs, surprisingly outweighing their Bitcoin ETFs in terms of volume coming in. I talked about the digital chamber sending out letters to US senators, telling them to join Senator Cynthia Luminis on her Bitcoin Act of 2024 that was introduced by Donald Trump to essentially use Bitcoin as a reserve asset to be buying 1 million individual Bitcoins for a time period of 5 years for the United States. I talked about Coinbase's blockchain essentially getting custom identity on-chain names. I talked about Tether pausing their sales on Bitcoin tonight's live show as well. I talked about El Salvador proposing crypto trades as well with BRICS nations. It was something that was introduced by Russia, and Russia's diplomat Alexandra introduced the idea as well. I also talked about essentially AI regulations from the EU. The EU has a set of AI regulations headed towards everybody. And I also talked about BlackRock continuing to buy Bitcoin even in price drops. If you enjoy this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. It's called the CMF Live Show. It stands for Crypto Miles Family, and we definitely are one massive big family. And we also have a Telegram group as well. Anybody's more than welcome to join it. It's completely free. I believe education should always remain free source. So our Telegram will always remain free as well. Everything that I pretty much provide as a service is completely free, like this live show that I do every single night, or the Telegram group, or any other groups that we do decide to create in the future. So if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night, 11:25 p.m. onwards, UK time. You can join into this live show on X Live or on YouTube Live, and definitely join the Telegram group as well. And thank you so much to everybody that donated on tonight's live show as well. Ray, thank you so much for the donation. And JP, thank you so much for the donation as well. Ray, thanks so much for the $2 donation. And JP, thanks so much for the $300 donation on tonight's live show as well for the CMF Hedge Fund. Absolutely amazing. To both of you, genuinely, thank you so much for the CMF Hedge Fund. And great live tonight as always, Miles. Special shout out to our brother JP for all the love. Take care all. Let's go CMF. Ray, let's go. See you tomorrow as usual. JP, good night, Miles. Good night, Miles and CMF. Thank you for all the news and great live as always. JP, thank you so much for kind words, brother. And I'll see you tomorrow, same timing as usual. And thank you so much for the $300 donation to the CMF Hedge Fund. Absolutely amazing. Another good job tonight, Miles. Let's go, Scott. See you tomorrow, brother, same time as usual as well. I enjoyed it and I shared it, Miles. Let's go, Scott. So it doesn't drop on the same day. But what happens? That's what happens exactly, step by step by step. Another information and another informative show. Time well spent. Thank you, Miles, and good night to you, and stay blessed, everyone. Brian, see you tomorrow, sometimes usual as well. Wow, JP, way to support. Yes, definitely. JP's definitely supported the hedge fund. Good day, Miles. Good night, Miles and CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow, but same time as usual. Good night, everyone. Denise, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. Good night to all. Bone Crusher, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Lena, good night. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. CMF, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. Good night, Miles and CMF. Great informative live. Thanks, Miles. Let's go free and forever. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. Also, check out check out Tangent as well. And use code CryptoMiles for 10% discount on Tangent as well, Tangent wallets. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world.